What up, YouTube? This is your boy Gary Lamb bringing about content on life, freedom, and the pursuit of happiness. And there seems to be a whole lot of apologies going out and a whole lot of fact checks being fact checked. And with how many days before the election?
38.
38 days before the election. I can't wait.
I want to talk about the 2024 presidential election.
Okay.
Facebook has been a flashpoint in many elections around the world, and you personally have been called out, most recently by former President Trump. This is a big election. What do you think is at stake?
Well, I mean, look, it's obviously a very important and it'll be a historic election. I feel like I'm best positioned maybe to talk about what our role will be in it and what we're going to do. And look, I mean, the main thing that I hear from people is that they actually want to see less political content on our services because they come to our services to connect with people. So, that's what we're going to do, where we give people control over this, but we're generally trying to recommend less political content. So I think you're going to see our services play less of a role in this election than they have in the past. And personally, I'm also planning on not playing a significant role in the election. I've done some stuff personally in the past. I'm not planning on doing that this time. And that includes, not endorsing either of the candidates. Now, look, I mean, there's obviously a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world. I mean, the historic events over over the weekend. And I mean, on a personal note, it's, seeing Donald Trump get up after getting shot in the face and pump his fist in the air with the American flag is one of the most badass things I've ever seen in my life. But, and I think, look, at some level as an American, it's like hard to not get kind of emotional about that spirit. And that fight, and I think that's why a lot of people like the guy. But look, I mean, we're living in a pretty crazy time, and I view our role here is to make it so that everyone can express their views on this stuff, but we're going to try to manage it so that way the politics doesn't drown out the human connection and the community, which is, I think, the main thing that people come to our services for. And we're not always going to get that right, but that's what we're going to try to do. And I think that that's probably the best role that we can play.
Got that Gary Lamb gaze going on.
Well, I'm trying to figure out how I want to go with this because I don't want to demonize the man for doing that, right? Like, what if that was really cool and he was like, that was cool. Maybe that really was cool to him. And if it was really cool to him, I don't want to take that away from the man, because a lot of people are very upset with him for what he did with the laptop story and all this other stuff that it was like demoting or whatever they call it. And there's a lot of frustration there. And I can understand why, especially when it comes down to this arena. But you got to understand that Mark Zuckerberg is Mark Zuckerberg. Even though he stumbled across Facebook, he's still Mark Zuckerberg. So you don't know who this man is. You don't know what he really leans towards. All you know is that he's a really, really kick-ass businessman when it comes down to Facebook or whatever. So we really don't know this man.
I'm kind of I'm leaning towards that, just in the fact that I'm a skeptical, guarded person.
Yeah.
Naturally. So you call me the guard dog. Like, I'm always like, oh, no. So I think because of just the times that we're living in right now, there's a lot of hearsay. There's a lot, on social media, all the platforms, all the news, networks. There's just a lot being said.
Yeah.
And so people call it a gut feeling, whatever you want to call it, discernment, because it's like a lot of PR and a lot of political correctness. And so I've noticed that people know what to say and how to hit that punchline in an interview.
Right.
So I'm just watching for that and to see what's authentic, and and I wouldn't want to be them or a Mark Zuckerberg or a whomever that, you know, are in the spotlight, so to speak. I mean, yeah, there's this platform, and I do believe, you know, that we're divinely placed here and stuff like that, because who would want to put their life in the public eye?
Nobody.
Who would want to? I know I didn't want to.
I mean, well, I will say this, that that's one of the reasons why I don't want to kick his back in right now, because he did call Trump and they had a conversation.
Did he?
Yes. So I want you to hear what Trump had to say about that conversation.
Did he?
Meta said that the picture wasn't altered. At first they said it was altered, and then they said, no, it was a bug,
So
it was a
Mark
mistake. So my
Zuckerberg-
point is
Right.
these companies would not allow any information out about what happened.
So Mark Zuckerberg called me. First of all, he called me a few times. He called me after the event, and he said that was really amazing. It was very brave. And, you know, and he actually announced he's not going to support a Democrat because he can't, because he respected me for what I did that day. I think what I did maybe was to me, it was a normal response. But I was called by Mark Zuckerberg yesterday, the day before, on this same subject. And he actually apologized. He said they made a mistake, et cetera, and they're correcting the mistake. Google, nobody called from Google.
So Trump says he believes him. And he believes that Mark is actually sincere with what he said.
He may very well be.
I mean, again, we're talking about a man that seems that he was, you know, nudged in the way of demoting content.
Yeah.
And we don't really know how that nudge was.
I that was my thing originally, and I still stand by that. These quote powers that be, the puppet master, whatever you want to call it, the machine. I can only imagine the threats. I can only imagine the possibilities. You know,
If that's
what
going on,
happened.
we don't know.
So, you know, like people say, they want to keep their nose clean. They want to make amends or whatever the case may be. Again, that's why I said I would never want to be in that position.
Yeah.
Because once you're placed in that position, just because of, you know, he's a knowledgeable young man or whatever the giftings are, then all of a sudden you're in this position and now you're a threat to people.
Right.
So then they use that against you, the very thing that you're gifted with. They try to use that against you because now you have notoriety, you have accessibility, you have a platform, whatever the case may be. So he very well may have meant what he said. You know.
Now, playing devil's advocate, there was a tweet or a conversation or something that Trump said. We actually covered it. We talked about it, where Trump basically said, listen, we're going to watch him. And if he interferes in elections again, he'll go to jail forever or something to that effect. I'll pull it up for you so you can read it here while we're talking about it. Now, what is your opinion on that? Because that's going to be the other side. Like, yo, man, Trump threatened him, so now of course he going to be like, hey, Trump, yeah, you know. So, what do you think about that?
If that's the case of why, you know, what motivated him to respond to former President Trump, then good. Good. Common sense to say sorry.
Yeah.
You know, integrity would say I was wrong. I shouldn't have done that. I'll bow out, mind my business, whatever. Even if he's just saying it in the public eye for people to hear. You know, even if he's saying it so that Trump can go onto a platform and say, well, he called me. Even if that's the motive.
Yeah.
He want his name out of it. Good. That was smart of him. Or whomever instructed him or suggested that he did that, whatever the case, good. Now we'll wait and see.
We'll wait and see. My depiction of it is, I think it is sincere. I think he really means what he said. And I believe that Trump did accept his apology. That's just how I see it. You know, did he have to say exactly what he had to say as Trump? I'm going to say Trump felt that he had to. And he had to say it for some reason, whatever reason that is. He said it. I can't tell you exactly what came first. Was it the tweet or was it the letter from Zuckerberg? I don't know which one, but ultimately speaking, it sounds a lot like Zuckerberg was nudged and he felt like his hands was tied behind his back. What is he going to do? The president of the United States, or I say the White House calls you and say, hey, you may not want this to go because of this, that, and the third. We don't know what type of they did. We don't know. But with Trump in office, that might be freeing up the ones that were actually victimized. So now they're able to come forth and say what really happened because they know that it really wasn't them. It was a pressure move, and Trump knows pressure moves like anybody. You know what I'm saying? So maybe it was just a pressure move, and he understand that he stumbled across something with Facebook, right? That's what I'm saying. Like, Trump got his billions going up against real, you know what I'm saying? He was thrown into the fight. You know what I'm saying? He had to learn real fast. But even then, when you look at the government coming at you, man, y'all be shook. Y'all shake when the IRS call you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, because that's the one plus entity that can do what they say they can do. They have a force to make it work. So that's very shaking to anybody, especially if you done seen all the, because Zuckerberg see things he will never see.
I believe it.
All right. So don't think for 1 second he's not seeing amazing, crazy stuff that he's trying to block and stop and prevent from getting onto his platform.
Yep.
All right. There's plenty of cases of something leaking and got through, and you saw something horrific and you shouldn't have seen it, but it got through. So keep that in mind as well. We're not dealing with just, a softie here. But he ain't on no fight the government level. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm gonna chalk that up to him really being sincere. But there is something else that Trump was talking about, and he mentioned Google. He said, Google didn't call me. So let's see what he had to say about that.
Google has been very bad. They've been very irresponsible. And I have a feeling that Google is going to be close to shutdown because I don't think Congress is going to take it. I really don't think so. Google has to be careful. Now, I will say this. I believe Mark Zuckerberg. He called me a lot. They are working on, and I think they fixed it.
But what?
And he's not doing what he did 4 years ago with the $500 million. I don't believe.
Now, you heard what he said about Google? He said Google is in a little bit of trouble. And, we've had, actually, I think I still have that clip. You guys saw the short that I did on the House of Representatives. What was it? The judiciary complaining that even their content was being stopped and quieted. So that is like, are you serious? We are the fact checkers. That's what we do. Right. We're the original fact checkers.
And you trying to snuff us?
Yeah, and you telling us no? Like, that's nuts. So I know why they are insanely frustrated with this, which is why I think Google is in trouble, because we don't know who really is doing this. All we know is that there's something going, and we're just looking around like, is it you? 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 We've been running around Russia, and then we've been running around like animals for the last 8 years trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
So it's like, this is just what it is. I think a lot of us are, finally tuned now to see BS when we see it, and see when there is the difference between defiance and tyranny. We now know the difference, right? Defiance is, leave me alone. That's defiance. Tyranny is, you're going to do it or else.
Right.
That's tyranny. Yeah. So we know which one it is. I'm fine with be defined. Take your state. I don't mind. Listen, that's the beautiful thing about the United States, right? You can go to your state and do what you want to do, right? Why you got to force me to do what I want to do in my state?
Right.
You can't come in my home and tell me what to do unless you got a freaking note saying that, the principal want to see you, then yeah, I'll go with you. But at the end of the day, you can't just come in my house and tell me what to do. And I surrounded myself around people who felt the same way, right? I don't want you coming to my house telling me what to do. And you did the same thing. That's why you have HOAs and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So you say you do what you want to do in your house. But see, in my crib and in my state, I want to do it a certain way. So I'm going to back the laws, protect the laws, defend the laws, and talk about the laws in my state because I want to make sure these things stay like this. See, you woke up a beast with this.
For sure. Yeah.
I've said this before and I'll say it again. I am not doing this to make money. I'm doing this because I want people to know the truth. I want people to know why they're voting. I want people to be able to make a sound decision. So if that means I have to learn this thing so I can figure out how to tell you how to make a good choice, I'm gonna do that. Well, who are you to tell me what to do? Nobody. You can change the channel. There's a billion out there.
Right,
find one.
Right.
You don't have to come here. I'm not doing this for that. I'm doing this for my country. This is what y'all don't get. I'm doing this for my country. One of the hardest things I've ever had to commit to was a country because I never knew the responsibility that would come along with that.
Ooh. Yes.
I can't do what you say and protect my country. How? That's against the rules of protecting your country. You don't do what people say. That's kind of what the Constitution is all about. You can't tell me what to do. But I'm not interested in telling you what to do. See how that works is wonderful. And if you got somebody that want to be tyrannical, knuckle up. We're going to fight for it. I want to move on to Jordan Peterson now because I think he ties right into the conversation that we were having about Trump and why he believes that if he was an American citizen, he would vote for Trump. So listen, and this was from Piers Morgan. If you don't want me using it, that's fine. I'm gonna do the best I can, so I won't whatever. I'm not trying to steal your stuff. I know it's yours. It's not that. It's just I need the content so I can talk. You know what I mean? I need it. So I'm using it to reference certain things, explain why. That's even more confirmation for what I'm doing. It's like a book report. That's all I'm really doing. But if you don't want me to monetize it, I'll take it off. It don't matter. But I'm gonna do my best to try to make it where you're not, PO'd. We know who made the dang video. It wasn't us.
Just talking of psychoanalyzing people, you've got two complete polar opposites now running for president of the United States. If you were psychoanalyzing Trump and Kamala Harris, what would you conclude right now based on everything you've seen and heard?
Well, if I could vote in the American election, I would vote for Trump. And I don't trust Harris. Now, do I trust Trump? Well, he was president for 4 years. Look, the best predictor of someone's future behavior is their past behavior. If you're trying to hire someone and you have documented history of their efforts in precisely the domain that you're attempting to hire for, and the evidence is clear and valid, you use that in favor of all other predictive, predictive markers. So I think it's more appropriate for me as a clinician who knows the psychometric literature to point out that independent of Trump's personality, which tends, by the way, to be a relatively weak predictor of behavior, it's intelligence that's the best predictor, and then personality. We have a documented track record. Okay, so what do we know about Trump? Well, as far as I'm concerned, we know this: decent economic performance, markedly stable international situation, no wars, plus, and that's something, no wars. Plus, he established the Abraham Accords, and they've held even after October 7th, and everybody in the State Department told the Trump administration that putting that agreement together was impossible. Now, of course, it's the Abraham Accords that have infuriated and frustrated the bad actors in Iran, and that's pretty much the entire political class there, and fomented October 7th and produced this catastrophe that's unfolding. But putting that at the feet of Donald Trump is a very ill-advised thing to do. So I would say, with regards to Trump, well, we know what a Trump presidency would be like, but there's something else to consider too, because you might say, well, you know, that was round one and now it's round two and Trump is older. And although I think he's actually modified his behavior to some degree as a consequence of being beat up so thoroughly over the last 5 years, and although he's a bit defensive, he's also less blustery and more human, which I think is a big plus. But for me, the other thing that I've seen really switch that's really been positive for me is that Trump has pulled a lot of hyper powerful people together around him. Musk, Tulsi Gabbard, Vivek Ramaswamy, Robert F. Kennedy, most of whom would have been Democrats in anything approximating a sane and normal world. And so, you see, my sense is that somebody whose narcissistic impulses are out of control, because Trump is a flamboyant and dominating character who likes the public light. So you think, well, you know, does he tilt too far in the narcissistic direction? It's like, well, why would he share the spotlight with the rest of this crew? And the other thing that we should consider is that, look, man, I would vote for Trump if for no other reason than Musk himself has already agreed to head something like a Department of Governmental Efficiency in the US. It's like, okay, enough said. You know, and then Kennedy is bringing the public health crisis into the political realm. And both those two things are revolutionary.
I would also say
Ramaswamy seems to be... Go ahead.
Ramaswamy is a very smart guy as well. I completely agree with you on that. Also, I think that Trump has shown with these assassination attempts something very surprising that I suspect a lot of people would not have expected, and that is genuine personal courage. I mean, the first time when he was actually shot, to insist on getting back up and to punch the air defiantly was a remarkable thing to do. But I thought what even more remarkably was a week later, he was back on stage at another rally with an even bigger crowd, like nothing had happened. I spoke to him that night and he was, you know, very gung-ho. I'm just going to keep doing it. They're not going to stop me. That is personal moral courage. I don't think you ever know whether you have it until it happens.
American dream.
I mean,
there's so much in this.
I look, listen. I'm feeling like I'm the whole. You know what I'm starting to feel, and this is, you know, I'm saying my wife sung this. My bad, but this is what I'm feeling right now, and that's how I want to go with it. But we ain't gonna do that. We're gonna stop it right here. The American Dream. I just put it in a clip in my head, but it's like
he put me up to that.
Yeah, I did. But yo, this right here was when I heard this morning. I was like, yes. He said, like, okay. I was watching another video, another interview with Jordan Peterson, and he was talking to the financial Dr. Phil. His name is Dave Ramsey. I call him the professional Dr. Phil, and I've been talking about him with my wife for a long time, and he's talking to Jordan Peterson, and I'm like, oh yes. So I went and watched that, and even in that, I was pulling stuff that actually coincide with what he just said. It's like when you are trying to articulate your emotions and your thoughts and stuff like that, it's very difficult to put it in language, especially if you've never tried before. Like, how do I explain? Like he said it in that clip. I'll just use the clip right here.
I realized that it was the people who had built productively that had the moral upper hand. They might not have been very good at expressing their ethos intellectually or explicitly, but in terms of their character, they had established a victory. And I think this is actually the problem on the conservative front, broadly across the world, is that they're people of solid character, but they're not good at articulating the foundations of their ethos. And then when the radical leftists come along and take them apart ethically, they don't know what to do. They throw up their hands. Because, I mean, think about it this way. If someone comes up to you on the street and says, justify marriage. And you think, well, I thought we sorted that out like 25,000 years ago. You don't know what to say. You have no idea how to justify marriage. You know, a lot of the things we do in our life that are ethical, we act out. We don't think through. Like, I presume the vast majority of you put up a Christmas tree. Well, you have no idea why. You know, like, and if someone, anthropologist, came over to your house and said, well, why do you put up a Christmas tree? You'd say, well, everyone does it. Something like that, and it's beautiful and it's part of a tree, but you have no idea why. I mean, there are reasons for the Christmas tree. That's a place where you put the light that shines in the darkness at the darkest time of the year. And that light signifies, in the Christian tradition, that light signifies Christ, and that signifies the service of the highest to the lowest. And you're acting that out, but you don't know it. And when you're married, you're acting out a very deep ethos as well, and you don't know what it is, but everyone's agreed on it. And a lot of your conservative virtues are things that everybody's already agreed on. And so when an intellectual comes along and says, justify that, you don't know what the hell to say. And then you can be picked apart. You know, well, isn't your ideal of marriage heterosexual, long-term, stable, child-centered couples, isn't that exclusionary? And isn't the exclusion wrong? Well, you think, well, exclusion, yeah, well, that's wrong, and, well, I don't know. And then you're guilty. And it isn't because you're wrong, it's just that you don't know how to articulate that traditional value.
You have to know how to answer that question, because you have people that's listening to that person, and they're probably on a teeter-totter, not really knowing if they need to follow this person or follow you, because a lot of people are aimless. And I know this is hard for people to understand, but there's a lot of aimless people out there. So they'll grab onto anything that feels good. I was talking to David Utz. We did a podcast. We did a video yesterday, and I was talking to him.
Our guest from last week.
Yes, a guest from last week. You put a notation here, and we was having a conversation, and I explained this. I said I was trying to explain the concern of leaving an empathic person pretty much alone. Because what happens is this, and this is how I explained it. Imagine having a boat, and you're in the middle of nowhere in this boat. It's just you. You can't see anything for 360 radius as far as the eye can see. You just can't see anything. And something comes along, months in, something comes along. Do you care if it's good or bad, light or dark? No, you just want to grab onto it because you've been stuck there and you want to get out of the abyss. You'll grab anything. Now, when you get where you're going, you might start to fine tune to certain things. But in that moment, you're desperate, and you have a lot of people running around desperate for the truth.
Yes.
And if you can't articulate that truth to them, that's a problem. This is the reason why I have a hard time with communication, because I can't explain the emotion to you unless I know how to explain it. It's just what it is. So what he just dropped when it came down to Trump is exactly how a lot of people are feeling and have been feeling since 2016.
Yes.
There's people that couldn't stand Trump, and they was going around, I can't stand Trump. And then they start looking at all the clips, and you start realizing that they're taking these clips out of context, and then and how would you know how to break that down unless you're trying to figure out the game? Yes, I had to figure out the game and figure out how to do this without manipulating the person's message,
Yep.
right? And that was not easy to do because they only gave you 60 seconds to do it. 60 seconds. They took what Jordan Peterson was talking about with the character limit at in Twitter, and defined it, and I'm defining it in shorts. Yes,
right,
shorts can really mess things up, and it moves so fast. So it's very important that you know how to police your own art. You have to self-govern yourself, and if you are going on a biased tip because you want to get the message out now, and you don't want to wait, you want to be the first one to get it out, you might put out some bad information.
Man, you dropping jewels right here.
Okay.
I'll let you cook. Go ahead.
So I get what they're saying about the bad information and catching the bad information. And unfortunately, it was so much going, they start taking the good information with it. But we now find out that not only was they taking the good information with it, it was actually a encouragement. Mm-hmm. And when you see that it was an encouragement to this magnitude, that is an issue. And that's what Trump has to clean up. Yes, I'm totally for cleaning up the internet. I told y'all from jump, TikTok's a problem. I had to go there and learn it. TikTok is a problem. It will suck you in real fast. And once you're sucked in, you don't come out of that. You stuck. Because if you make any moves outside of what they think is worthy, you're gone. They will mass unfollow. It's like a cult, if you will. And you'll be in that abyss again, looking for anything to pull yourself out. So all this is very important. So yes, I'm with Jordan on this one. I'm 100% with Jordan on this one. I feel like Trump really did soften up, not soften up to his way. He's understanding why, because when you become the president of the United States, you have to play with both sides. You have to understand what both sides are saying. And if anything, that's going to make you a better businessman.
Better leader.
A better leader all around.
Well-rounded.
Yes, because you get to talk to people. Because I'm sure Trump listened to people that he never ever mentions. Like he made a point there. All right, I can. Because once you realize that self-correction is a need now, it's not a question. You have to self-correct, because I won't vote for you if you don't. Simple. Just like he said in his thing, if I do a good job, they will take that clip and spread it all over the place. So I got to do a good job. He knows this. He understands it, and he responds to it. You can't get a better leader than that.
I really appreciated Jordan Peterson's overall analysis of Trump. I feel that he was extremely, he was on point with his keys, right? On the key targets of the individual. And even if you put aside the individual, which all of that was correct, and I'm gonna get to that too, just look at like the other clip we were watching and made a commentary about, it's the policies. I loved how he was saying, if you want to have an idea, I'm paraphrasing, of what a person would be like in the future, consider their past. Now, listen, we all have a past. I'm not talking about the bones. I'm not talking about how you've evolved. We've all evolved. Yes. We all have a story. All of us have a story. We're becoming better. I pray. Okay, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the record of the person when it comes to policy and the seat that they carry.
Amen.
So if you're looking at the seat that the person carries between these two candidates, of the two, this is the comparison here. So when he said, somebody that goes through hell, we can relate to that. You don't come out the same. Hell as in an experience of life, okay? It was terrible. So it was terrible.
Yeah.
I would never sugarcoat it, no matter how high up we go and all of that. I will always say it was terrible. But if you look at that and see, like you were saying, and Jordan said, Trump has changed and he's gotten better. In many ways, it's like he's gotten better. He's more in tune with the people. And I'm going to get to what you just said about both sides. He's more in tune with the people. And so when you're looking at this important seat that either of these individuals will be sitting in, look at the track record. So if you look back at Harris before she became in Senate and before she became VP and all of that in her law career, the different things that she has done up until now, similarly to Walls and all of that, look at the track record. Is that someone that you can trust in this seat? I trust you to do what you've been doing.
Right.
I trust you to carry out the character that you have. If that's the character that Harris has and that team has, I expect more lies. I expect you to try to deceive people. I expect you to be one-sided, which brings me to what you were saying. I love that because it's very clear. And I'm going to keep going back to this. On that debate, people talk about, that there wasn't, validity to the animals being taken, all of that at the time, which there's more commentary that's come out about that. But even with that on the side, we were very clear. There has been a lot, and it's gotten worse in Springfield, in the surrounding towns and cities, and now has gone to other states. And here you are laughing in the American people's faces. No care or concern whatsoever. Even if that wasn't the topic, it still was very telling about the person.
Right.
So do I want you in the seat where you were saying he's changed in that you're looking at a person that is taking everyone into consideration? I'm speaking about Trump. He's taking the entire country into consideration. On the other hand, you have Harris who's speaking to one particular side.
Yep.
Right? And so for me, I don't want you representing me to other countries. I don't want you representing my family and our children who would have have detriment really in the decision of them going to a selective service. I don't want you representing our country to anyone. And the other side, I love where he mentioned about, let's call them the dream team.
Oh, right? Yeah. When I saw that team, I was like,
hands down, great move.
Oh man, did y'all take over Marvel? Like that's like hold up.
Good. I said, whoa.
Yo, they got bro. The point is that right now that team looks so nice.
Strong team.
It looks like a really strong team. And when you start noticing
in comparison
to what Kamala is working with, that's
a hard no.
That's scary
that's
for
a
me.
Hard pass.
That's scary for me. Because that's just scary to me. To see what happened to Tim Walz's state. Right? I mean,
it's a crying shame.
Like that state is not the same. You know what I mean? Like people don't realize how bad it was for that state. And, I don't want people to think that we don't know about the state. We understand that. And this is why we're concerned about Springfield, Ohio, because we seen what they did to that state. I don't want to look, man. Bottom line is I'm not happy with her team. I'm just not. And no. I mean, I see how she's doing things and, it's just scary. It's scary to me. And what Peterson said just hit all levels for me. Mm-hmm. If you're going to gauge someone from their previous history, their previous job, whatever, look at Kamala's and look at Donald Trump's.
Yes.
And there's just no comparison. I mean, you want to know why it felt so safe? Because it was.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It was. I mean, we had problems with Antifa. We had problems with Black Lives Matter. We had huge problems with those kind of groups. But that was almost contained, right? That was almost contained. We had a whole lot of people to defend that, but then you notice who they went after, right? They didn't go after their team. They went after our team. And everybody that's on the Patriot side knows what we're talking about. They pretty much, locked us up basically in so many ways. Locked us up in jail, locked us up in court, locked us up on YouTube, Facebook, whatever, just locked us up and forced us to have to go to our own corners and start doing our own thing. And we built up strength there, and we started coming back, you know, because it's like, I don't think it's over. It's not over. It's not over. You know what I'm saying? That's why I can't wait for the election. This is going to be I hope we can actually make it, you know, to a rally this year. Like I never really been to a Trump rally. I would like to go to a Trump rally. I really would.
We did.
No, that wasn't a Trump rally. That was a patriot
Not
rally
in
about
Florida.
Trump. Yes, that wasn't Trump's rally. That was
In Washington? He was in Washington.
No. That was no. That was a different. That was a protest. I want to go to a rally.
Okay,
that was a
got you.
protest.
I'm like, he went.
No,
we were there.
no. We went to a protest.
Okay.
It wasn't
Yeah,
a rally
difference.
up like we did in Florida. That's what I'm saying. I want to go to a rally.
Okay.
Yeah, I really want to do that and see what's going on there, because that sounds beautiful to me. I think that'd be awesome. And you know, I'm excited about this year. I'm excited to see our country bounce back, and I'm excited to see us pretty much kick some butt, you know, get our money back. You know what I'm saying? They stole a lot of money from us.
Get our lives back.
They stole a lot of money from
New
us.
life.
You know what I'm saying? And we're going to do it the right way. We're not going to go out there and try. I'm not trying to sue nobody. I'm going to pay everybody off that I owe. Every last one of you. I got you guys I got you on the list right now.
Yes.
But this was more important. It was more important because I don't want this to happen to anybody ever again. What happened to me can't happen to somebody else. It can't, because they may not make it. Okay,
Right.
they may. The homeless is getting out of control. On top of the immigration problem, trust me, you will not make it. It's too many mouths to feed. You won't. So I don't want this to happen to people. All right. So that's why we're doing this. We're raising the flag, raising the alarm as high as we can, and saying nope. I will start all over from scratch if I have to, and I will use the support of the state if necessary. And that's what we did. I'm proud to say Trump again. Okay? I'm proud to say Trump again, because he did what he thought was best for the country. Okay, you can say whatever you want. The man took a bullet for your country. That's enough for me. That's what he did. Any final words? Yeah. This is Gary Lamb signing off. LaToya Lamb. You guys have a good one.